I'm processing CSV reports and writing them into MySQL. I've got 3 of the reports here, but I'm actually processing 17 different reports in a single pipeline. And you'll notice they all have different columns in the reports, different column names, and I've been careful to build my pipeline to handle all of these differences in a single pipeline. So I've covered this in other videos. Here I'm mapping those very human readable headers into something that looks a bit more like a database column. I'm pulling out a table name, I'm doing some special handling on different kinds of reports, I'm converting field types, and finally I'm going to write everything to MySQL. Now you might be thinking, even after I've got all the data straight, I'm going to have to map all of those fields from my input data into columns in MySQL. But I don't. Here's the trick. I have been very careful to create my tables in MySQL and process the column names here so that everything in my records is exactly as it needs to be inserted. These perfectly match the columns over here. And you'll see here that I'm not setting the table name in the JDBC destination explicitly. I'm actually using that table attribute that I set up back here in the pipeline. So that's going to be different for each object I read in, that we're extracting that from the object name. So in fact, this is an example of StreamSets' intent-driven approach. Rather than being schema-driven and having to map all of those column names across, I'm driven by my intent, and my intent is simply to write data in and match up those column names, and that's exactly what happens here. By defining no field to column mapping, everything happens as I might expect. And if I run the pipeline, I can see exactly that happening. So run the pipeline and it should process. So I've just got to those 3 test reports. So let's see, 19 records written to MySQL. And if I go over to MySQL Workbench and see if I refresh here, I can see the data's appeared there, and we can see here these column names exactly match what I was creating in my pipeline. My data's there and ready to analyze.